I may not be Jewish, but I know emotional manipulation when I see it. Gen Z has been tricked into thinking that seeing graphic images of war automatically makes a war unjust. That's not true. It's never been true. Felix says, first sentence of his post made me double over. No, this is unironically her argument, chat. This is literally her argument. This is what she's been saying. And it turns out she's literally hired as an evangelical Zionist to do propaganda for Israel. Like, she works for a pro-Israel, like Israel propaganda operation, from what I understand. And it's really funny because no matter how much money you dump into this process, like, you are not going to be able to overcome the endless amount of child murder that has been live streamed every single day. You can't do a baby Holocaust and then act like people don't see it or try to punish people for seeing it. It does not work that way at all. Look who's here. Right on cue. It's little lady. Little lady.
Just because you see images of dead children, as disgusting and frustrating and upsetting as it is, does not automatically make a war unjust.
I'm gonna say it. Just because you are getting the bag in and you are receiving crumbs of attention on the internet for spreading your abhorrent propaganda does not make it acceptable. Because in this video, this person basically admits that they work for the Israeli government.
And for the last 4 years, I've worked in some capacity for my full-time job in the Israel education ad.
Bro, this is Hasbara. She literally does Hasbara for Israel. She's an evangelical Zionist who is paid by the Israeli state to do Israel propaganda. Let me tell you something. The entire purpose of what she's doing is to get other evangelical Christians to be pro-Israel, okay? At a time when there's like unprecedented negativity surrounding Israel for its live streamed child holocaust that it is doing to the Palestinian population. Yeah, she is supported by El Al, and she's a member of the Christian Students for Israel, funded by the Hobby Lobby. These people are insane, okay? They are dumb. They are insane. They are unsuccessful. It's not going to work. This propaganda operation is bunk. But I find it funny that there are still people who try to do this shit.
An advocacy space.
They say that they've been working within the Israel advocacy space, but you only have 30,000 followers. You're not generating your own income. You are being paid by the Israeli government, or at least an NGO or an organization that is adjacent to it. And you sit there and act as if it is the photos and images on the internet that are made to manipulate people's emotions, rather than the fact that the state that you support is currently paying people like you, white Westerners, who appeal to people's Christianity, to spread nonsense like this so that Israel can commit crimes. It is in no way normal or acceptable to go on the internet every day and make rubbish like this so you can support a state which is currently starving 2 million people, which is currently trying to wipe away 2 million people's history and culture with the express goal of expelling them and never allowing them to return to their own lands. She says that she's getting a master's degree in genocide studies, but how dare you make videos like this if you really are? Because surely you must see that there are an incredible amount of experts who are referring to what Israel is doing as genocide. And under the vast majority of definitions, even Raphael Lemkin, the man who coined its definition, that Israel is perpetrating genocide. This is shameful, disgusting behavior.
There's a part 2 as well, which is crazy. Let's take a look.
Every single one of these creators has this grand conspiracy theory that I'm either secretly undercover a Jew or I work for the Israeli government.
No one thinks you're secretly undercover a Jew. Everyone knows that you are an evangelical Zionist. You're an evangelical Christian who is working for a most likely Knesset grant recipient organization that is probably privately owned by some freakazoid Christians that are directly doing advocacy, also known as Hasbara, okay, for the state of Israel. You are a Hasbara agent. That is your job. That is literally on your LinkedIn. And the only reason why it's on your LinkedIn, the only reason why it's openly a part of your CV, but you're still trying to advocate against it, is because in the past when someone said, oh, I work for an advocacy organization for Israel, people wouldn't look at that and go, that's weird. Why are you doing that? People would never say that. That's why people could openly say, I do advocacy work for Israel in the past. But now when you say that, they go, ugh, that's gross. That's the only reason why you have to deny these claims.
I'm not, and I don't, but LOL if you're watching.
You know, when you post things on the internet, you should be very careful about what other information can easily be found out about you with just a simple search. Because, you know, you misleadingly edited my original video. Because what I actually said is you either worked for the Israeli government or you worked for an NGO that was adjacent to the Israeli government. And who do you work for? Who do you work for? Passages Israel, a Christian evangelical NGO which spends money bringing young Christians over to Israel to turn them into nasty little propagandists like you, who spend their time explaining why children dying is moral and just. You claim that you don't think it is, but yet you go on about how the war is just in this video.
I'm sorry, I take it back. No, I will actually say it again. Just because you see graphic images of children does not make a war unjust. Notice how I didn't say that the killing of children is something to be glorified or praiseworthy. Notice how I never said that it's not a tragedy. Notice how I never said that you shouldn't weep for the loss of innocent children's lives. Somewhere along the way, a lot of people started confusing emotional pain with moral judgment. They started believing that if a war produces suffering, if there are horrifying images, if there are children caught in the crossfire, or if it seems like one side is suffering more than the other, then that means the war itself must be unjust. And that is not true. That's never been true. The nature of war is that innocent...
Is she brain dead? Yes. She's evil. She's evil and brain dead. She's just a bad person. She is literally a demonic agent, okay? And the things that are coming out of her mouth are so psychotic and so demonic that the average person, when they hear stuff like this, probably experiences whiplash. I've never encountered a person in my life that has ever actually made a take like that, and then that didn't dramatically cause a rift in our relationship permanently. But according to grifters online like Chris Kunzler, I enjoy the killing of babies and I'm funded by the Israeli government. This is good news to me. However, I would like to record the record to reflect that I would gladly accept a sponsor from El Al.
Innocent people suffer.
You think starving 2 million people is just. You think expelling 2 million people is just. You think wiping away the social life of 2 million people is just. No, that's genocide, and you should know that. But because just today, many experts in the field of genocide studies came out and said, yeah, what Israel is doing is genocide. There is no other way to look at it. There are only people like you who wish to use their education to spread lies on the internet so more killing can happen.
Most of the people talking about this kind of stuff online don't actually have a personal connection to the war. They don't have a friend that they know personally or a family member who is living in the region. They have never had to check a casualty list for a name that they might recognize. And the most productive conversations that I have had about the current war have been with people who
This is also the other side of the story that's really funny, because she goes, oh, dude, you guys need to shut up about the emotional appeal of dead Palestinian children that your tax dollars are contributing to. And what you should instead feel is the emotional appeal to Israeli society that gets to have bunkers that they can run into and gets to live a normal life every day on the backdrop of a genocide that American weapons are contributing to. You should feel emotional about Israelis. Why are you feeling emotional about Palestinians? It's like, think about the poor Israelis. That's what this argument revolves around. It doesn't work that way. People know right from wrong. A really unique bind. Yeah, poor SS officers suffering from PTSD. They felt so bad as they were slaughtering villages, entire villages, and wiping them out in Eastern Europe. Like, why won't anybody think about their perspective? Why would anybody think about their feelings? Like, this is crazy. It's not going to work. It's so overwhelming that Americans that are normally preconditioned due to the war on terror narratives to literally always assume that if there is a brown Arab that is being slaughtered, they probably deserve it. That American society has completely flipped on the issue of Israel. After decades and decades of concerted propaganda efforts and a complex influence peddling operation, those Americans have finally said, oh my God, this is so unacceptable. Do you think there's a chance of changing someone's minds like that, ladies? No, that's an enemy. That is not someone whose mind is supposed to be changed. This person is an enemy, an ideological enemy, an enemy of the truth. Her entire job is to do propaganda for money. That's entirely different. But we're not talking about convincing someone like this. We're talking about convincing people that might have encountered her idiotic commentary and might have been duped by her idiotic commentary.
Actually have lived through it. People in Israel and the West Bank and in Gaza. Not random internet personalities who are on here grifting for cash.
And this isn't some random thing for me, and nor is it a money spinner. I made videos long before October the 7th. I have 2 degrees in this. I have studied the Middle East. I have spent time around many Palestinians who, unlike your Israeli friends who you say you're upset about because they're in the IOF, well, my friends just live in Palestine.
Invited to a dinner with a bunch of lone soldiers. How freaking sweet is that?
And that's the difference between you and I. When I say I've got friends from the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and also East Jerusalem and 48 Palestine, they're not soldiers. And you have the audacity to make out as if I am the one making bank off suffering. No, 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 no. I had always wanted to work in this space because I knew that young people like me from the West didn't understand Palestine because of organizations like yours who try and trick us into believing that Israel is doing just and moral things. And so what I did was I started making videos. And now I'm able to share the years and years that I spent studying Palestine to a far grander audience than if I was writing papers.
Oh, man. It's coming to a point where the only people that like Israel are either A, paid to like Israel and paid to promote Israel, or they're like an 85-year-old boomer, okay? Or a rabid evangelical Christian.